We're about to move to our second panel discussion. Ladies and gents, it gives me great honor to welcome Chief Director Economic Sector Support, Western Cape Department of Economic Development and Tourism. Let's welcome our panel chair, Ms. Ilse van Schalkwyk.
There we go. It's still good morning, everybody.
Morning, Ilse.
There we go. Some good energy in the room. We are going to be doing it a little bit differently. I'm just going to get my panelists. You can come up, everybody, and then we go do your introduction. Zandile and Joan and Edward and Glenda. You guys can take the fancy seats. Be careful of the step. Thank you, guys. So, I just want to say thank you very much for the department. Now that I've moved from the municipality to provincial government, it's been about 5 months on this journey. It's been quite interesting, and I see so many familiar faces of people that I've been building relationships with for many, many years. And it feels like when I landed this morning, it's very weird flying into the garden route and not out of the garden route. And it feels like you're coming home. Because I spoke to one of my previous colleagues yesterday, and he said to me, "Have a nice." I'm like, "Yes, don't worry. I will be sitting in traffic for the next 45 minutes, but enjoy your 2-minute drive home from Inhausen." So that's all about city living. And when the department asked me to chair this panel, our topic was really with regards to creating an enabling environment and capacitation opportunities for events. So they asked who, and at least I know quite a lot of people in the garden route, having previously worked here for the last, almost 12 years of my life. And so it was quite easy to pick a good bunch of people. And I'm going to introduce them first to you, and then I'll just do a quick opening of our discussion. And our format is going to be a little bit different to the previous panel in terms of you are going to watch people have a good discussion. We're not going to be doing presentations. We're literally going to be having key topics we're going to be covering. And please jot down your questions as we cover. We've got various questions, and then we'll have a Q&A of about 10 minutes at the end. Fine with everybody? Good. So in terms of our panel members, and I'm just going to read a little bit of a bio with regards to each person. And the first person is Edward Jantjies, the man in the very, very bright shirt. He says he's... Yeah, that's what I did noem. So, in terms of Edward has a BCom in economics and a postgrad in public management. He currently holds the position for, gosh, how many years, Edward?
12 years.
12 years. Wow. That is like stalwart people in terms of he's the director for corporate services at Mossel Bay Municipality. And he's had quite a number of different portfolios under him from socioeconomic development. He's also looked after tourism. He looks after HR. He looks after legal, all sorts of lovely things. And the municipal environment is pretty tough. And he's got a passion for socioeconomic development, and he's been involved in various leadership positions in terms of provincial working groups, like with CoLab. He's done presentations on various platforms, and he's really a big leader in the municipal space in the garden route. So thank you very much, Edward. Our second, and you guys can do better than that. This really meek and mild. There we go. Okay, and the second panelist is Zandile. Everyone, there we go. Zandile is this beautiful. For me, she's a feisty fairy. And Zandile's got a qualification. She studied psychology, sociology, art history, politics through UNISA. She's traveled extensively, and her expertise is really with regards to event management. She's actually been the event manager for the Rotary Nasa Cycle Tour. She was the logistics lead in the Oyster Festival for how many years?
13 years.
13 years. So that's like serious expertise with regards to managing an event for about 50,000 people. She's also involved and with the Karuta Coast, and with Dr. Evil, which she owns and runs, that feisty fairy. And she loves the community. And last year, when I was still with the municipality, we also got involved in as a mentor for our event incubator program, which Glenda will also share about with later. So thank you, Zandile.
Thank you.
There we go. Oh yeah, before I forget, and she's an avid trail runner. My goodness, on Facebook, I just see all these hills she's always running up. So, and then our third member is Joan. Joan, give everybody a wave. There we go. If you don't know Joan, where have you been? Okay, so in terms of Joan's experience, Joan is currently the tourism manager for George Municipality. She's also been involved in, Fancourt. She was also involved in tourism in Oudtshoorn. She had a stint in Mozambique where she was doing a lot of tourism product development work, and she's been involved in running different major events such as the George Strawberry Festival, George Car Show, the Otanika Wheelchair Challenge. So she's also got a lot of experience with regards to not only marketing the region, but in terms of putting together events. Because that's where the rubber hits the road. It's when you've got that concept in your head and you and I actually have to make it work, which is not always so easy. So thank you very much. Welcome, Joan. And then our last panelist, not the least, is Glenda Fick. If you don't know Glenda, you haven't been to Knysna Tourism in a while. Glenda is currently the office manager for Knysna Tourism. Glenda, how long have you been working with Knysna Tourism? Gosh.
Too long to
Too
me.
long. Ooh, okay. With all the different name changes. So Glenda has also been involved with the Oyster Festival. She was the Oyster Festival manager for a year, and she's born and bred in Knysna, and that for me is always an amazing thing, is when you get that passion for some place, and there's not a lot of people that were in the garden route. There's a lot of people that move in and out of the garden route from elsewhere in the country. So Glenda really loves Knysna. She's got a passion. She's raised a family there. She's got a qualification currently, and she just completed it, her postgrad in, hang on, I've got the right word, in Women in Tourism.
Executive Leadership Development.
There we go. So I'm very proud of her. I think that's excellent for her to pursue that. And she also holds a B degree in development studies. So she loves people and she loves development. She's done a lot of great work, specifically in Knysna, in terms of township development. She developed the local, what did I call this?
Knysna Living Local.
Knysna Living Local experience, which is great, because that's also the hard part. I had a discussion yesterday with Gauteng Tourism, who came to visit us in Cape Town, and they were talking about this experience in relation to tourism development. And if I always say I want all the tourism marketing people in the room, I can get a crowd. But if I really want the stalwart people in the room that does tourism development from the grassroots up, it's a handful of people, because that's the hard work. That's the SMME development. That's the event development space. It's not easy. So I think Glenda's got great experience to add to that. So welcome, Glenda. There we go. Okay. So you'll see we have an interesting panel, and we've got quite a few number of questions. But I'm just going to set the scene, and then I'm going to take a seat, and we're going to have our discussion. And we even have a timer here somewhere, so I can see how long I'm doing this for. So in relation to the topic, and my first question was, how do we support events from a provincial perspective? So in my new portfolio, I head up tourism for the province, and I look after, and I've then started suddenly being pulled into and becoming involved with regards to event coordination and strategic thinking from a provincial perspective, which is a little bit different to a local municipal area, because there you've got a town and you're looking after your town's event calendar, etc. So when we're thinking about this, and my other colleagues who's also spoken earlier, Lyndon and Denver, etc., they've been involved for quite a number of years with regards to the event strategy for the province. So you've got different people involved, and a lot of people who have to do access funding proposals. They'll apply at DCAS. They'll go and see Linda from Westgrow. He receives a lot of them as well. They will also, I know Mushfika, they also run with regards to funding. So there's different sources of funding. And oftentimes events will approach provincial government for money. But the other role and the other thinking which we have to start pulling in with regards to events from a provincial perspective is really leading to say, what is the role of events in the Western Cape economy from our perspective in terms of DDAT? And that really leads to the question of how does events support the Western Cape economy in terms of attracting visitors to our province, number one. So the attraction value, because that's what it does. You have a local event in terms of you're doing a fun run for the community. But events also has a strategic role with regards to the attraction value in terms of what the province has to offer. So are we able to position our events in terms of our annual calendar to attract additional visitors to come and spend money and stay longer in the province is question number one. So if you had to look at your own municipal areas events and you had to classify your event with regards to, is it a local event? Is it a regional event? Is it an event that can attract national and international visitors? There's not a lot of them around. There's a lot of events in the space, but not a lot of events of those categories. The second aspect is investment. Events also, you had, the previous panel talked a lot about the APSA, the corporates, in terms of what they're investing. And if you look at the budgets, I know I've been through this experience quite a number of times. Events struggle, they struggle to make money. It takes years for an event to actually move over that break-even point and start showing a profit. And a lot of events are reliant on sponsorships to just either break profit or just get a little bit of return of investment in terms of profit. And profit isn't a swear word. You're not a charity, unless you're an NGO and you're doing it for charity, but we need to be very clear with regards to that. Events also need to be operated like a business because you've got income and you've got expenses. So what is the investment that event has in our provincial economy is very important. The third aspect is with regards to seasonality. And I had first-hand experience in Knysna with regards to the role of events in terms of a seasonal visitor profile. Knysna did this that's one of the strategies of having an event in the middle of winter where there wasn't a lot of visitors. It's not a great season. So what are you doing in terms of events to look at your seasonality period in your calendar? And is that event able to, once again, attract people during that period? So it's very easy if you're in an event management space or in a destination management to step back and say, this is my calendar, I have to plot it and say, okay, strategically think of what do we need? Because there's one position of just responding in terms of the event coordinating companies come up with proposals and you just respond. You're just giving permits and services and all those lovely things. But are we using events as a strategic platform for our tourism economy? And then the fourth one, which is the final one for me, is in terms of a brand platform. I liked what the lady from APSA indicated. Sorry, I didn't write your name down. I apologize. When you said the brands I love. Oh my goodness. The brand experience with regards to, if I love Apple. I listened to KFM the other morning and they said, Apple users do this and Android users do this. And then there was about 100 people sending voice notes in about saying, I'm an Android user and Apple users suck. And I'm just like, woo, anger. But it's about brand loyalty. And we have this constant conversation with regards to the Western Cape as a visitor destination Western Cape, and under that all the different other local areas. And the role events play when you host it in a town in terms of marketing that space. Because somebody's going to come and participate or visit an event, they're also going to be, once again, they're there as a visitor. They're going to experience that area that you're building a brand. So there's the one brand in terms of the destination, but the event itself has a brand. Car has a brand. The Strawberry Festival has a brand, etc. And how are we building those brands to a certain level? So what is the vision for the Western Cape in terms of this? One, where are we positioning events in terms of our economy as a strategic lever for the economy? How do we increase the standard of events across the province? Because that's, in my opinion, that's what we want. We want to make sure that the events reach a mature level. The events must grow. Events mustn't just stagnate as you can't forever be a startup company. You can't forever be a struggling event. How are we providing support to ensure that our blue chip events are actually, or I don't know what's the word. Westra always has a word with regards to the events that they must support. Our platinum events. So what are we doing in terms of making sure we've got more events that has a big return of investment for our provincial economy? And yes, so that's all part of our bigger strategy for the Western Cape. And I would also, at the end, I'll just talk a little bit about our Western Cape Tourism Master Plan that we're going to be engaging with in terms of pulling this in, of which the event strategy that our other departments and province are also working on has to plug into. So, is events strategically important for the economy? Yes?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
There we go. Some sort of, no one's really listening, but okay. Okay, good. So let's get on with our panel. Thank you. Okay. So in terms of, hi guys, here we go. See, we're going to have a chat. Okay. So, Edward, I'm going to start with you. In relation to the role of local and regional tourism organizations in terms of the space, and also specifically with regards to your experience in supporting and developing events in the Mossel Bay municipality, can you just shed some light on in terms of that?
Okay, hi guys. I'm actually glad I can sit down because it's going to be very difficult for me to get up and stand. And I know, Kali, I've actually shed a bit of weight, so I'm actually very good that I can sit. Now, it's important to know that I'm coming just totally from a municipal perspective. I know about events organizers, and the municipality is a nightmare to events organizers because why? We're supposed to create an enabling environment for them to do their organizing and their events in. What can the municipality do? The municipalities can actually just avail their facilities, tighten up their bylaws, sort out red tape, and actually assist with all the logistics. At Mossel Bay Municipality, we've gone a step further. In Mossel Bay, there's about 36 events taking place from Jan to this. We are physically involved in 7 of those that we are organizing and managing ourselves, where we are creating or giving the budget ourselves. Those are your sports festival, your Dice Festival, and I did some cheap marketing there. There's some lovely books on your table there. It wasn't me, someone just put the books on your table, just feast yourself. We've got the Dice Festival, then we're part organizing the jazz festival, we're part organizing the Buffalo Rally, we are organizing solely the Soul Festival, and then we've got a community festival, which is the Taka Festival. Now, most of the festivals that we are involved in is entrance are for free. Now, don't get a fright. And we believe in planting back in our communities and to create that social capital. But before we can do that, and what I don't put on my CV, I was actually a pastor as well. There you go, Annelie. So you're sitting around a very spiritual table. And I believe in the Trinity. And without going into the biblical values of what the Trinity is, my Trinity currently for the past 25 years that I'm in local government is the municipality, is one part of the Trinity. The tourism department and the business chamber or the tourism sector, that's the other part of the Trinity. And then your NGOs and your community. Now, no festivals, no activities can take place without the Trinity. And the one can't do without the other. And this is what us as Mossel Bay Municipality started realizing about 10 years ago. Before that, event managers will come and they want to do an event, Ilse. Well, what do we do? Oh, sorry, we don't have money. We need to create or do services. And the municipalities, there was a lack of understanding of what are the impact of events in a society. I want to start closing off this first session by just saying, just give you a bold figure. The municipality currently, just for festival and events, we are actually budgeting around about 3 million rand. That comes from our own coffers. And our money buys money. When sponsors see that you actually are doing stuff yourself, they just come and give more. So out of those 47 festivals, we actually get over R1 million in cash to actually, because we're giving out, it's a rand on a rand principle that most of these sponsors are. I want to encourage the municipalities out there, local government. I want to encourage Dr. Bauer, you guys, to actually start speaking to local government, because local tourism is a local government function, and we need to really up our standards and up our responsibility to make sure that we partake in these events. Lastly, just in terms of what are the roles of the local tourism organizations, mainly, guys, you guys need to start doing the marketing, networking, you create linkages, promotions, you are facilitating, and you're the catalyst of everything that goes on in the town. Thanks.
Thank you. Just, is there anything anyone wants to add in terms of that?
Well, I've got something that's a really big bugbear for me, and I know the Regional Tourism Office and probably Westgro, everybody has the same problem. We all know we want events. We all know events are great for the economy. We wouldn't be sitting here if we didn't believe in events. But why do so many event organizers never tell their tourism office that they're doing an event? You know, we find out in the newspaper or via the grapevine. We actually keep an extensive events calendar, so we try to make sure that events are spread out through the year, that they are in those valley periods, that they don't clash. What's the point of trying to have a huge festival in George when there's a huge festival in Knysna? You know, let's dovetail and share. So please, I'd like to appeal to every organizer, sports facility, club in this room, please share your annual calendar with your tourism office. Because not only will we make sure that those events are sort of fit in, we make sure everybody knows about them, we go to social media, we do print advertising, we will immediately increase your media footprint and make sure everybody knows about your event.
Anything you want to add, Linda?
I just want to add to what
Edward is
my
saying.
colleague said here. Advocacy is a very important point, especially for small events. And the Tourism Information Office could play that role in a bigger part. And also, event organizers can assist each other in that. I mean, like established organizers with emerging event organizers. And I remember one example was when the organizer of the Knysna Wine Festival is here, Belinda Hobson. I used to do a small community culinary event, Green Chefs, and I was looking for sponsors. And she actually put the lady in touch with me that have organic free-range ducks. And that's, you know, so that kind of collaboration is very important. And the local tourism information can actually fulfill that role to promote
Absolutely.
advocacy for small events.
Yeah, it's not a, once again, having experienced you get event coordinate, it's not a perfect process with working with your tourism office. It's what's there, everyone's got resources, so you have to almost use a multi-prong approach. Because when events, as I said, budgets are tight, so you have to make sure you're on the calendar. You've got to try every avenue. So I absolutely agree.
I disagree with you in terms of dealing with the municipality. My experience has been positive in the events, the regulation that you have to go and the process that you have to follow in order to get your event signed off, the permission signed off, is actually for our own protection. And I think Knysna and George has got really good processes in place. Yeah, and so it's actually, the system is working well, and it forces you to be within the law. So I'm happy with my experience with both of the municipalities.
I think it's different from where the event applies, and it's also to have that information in terms of what does your local authority require, and how are we ready. And there I understand what Edward is saying in terms of, is the municipality's house in order in terms of facilitating that, whether it's from an event permit space, or I need 50 black bags, or I need you to help me with refuse removal. Do we have money to do that? Yeah. Okay, good. Next question. Thanks, panel. Okay. So, Zandile, this one's for you mainly, and everyone else can add value to that. So, what are the needs of local event organizers? And if you can share a few success stories with us in terms of your experience in the region.
Okay, I might go a bit off topic.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm working on not on Oyster Festival, but on Karuta Coast and Dr. Evil. I've been on Karuta Coast for 15 years, and that actually includes George and Knysna municipalities, and I love the event. All the proceeds go to charity, and we have 4,700 entries. We cap it. We've sold out for a decade. I'm super proud of it, and I work with charities who are really just great people. So it's a very positive experience for me. And then Dr. Evil kind of is my own event with Leon Evans, and that sort of happened organically. And then last year you gave me the opportunity to work on the mentorship program, with Busco, Oliver, and Vuvu, who I'm extremely proud of. I learned a lot in that process. In terms of how out of touch I am as a white South African event organizer, and when I go into the township, how it differs. The support was great from the municipality. What I learned was that the guys are operators. They can have access to service providers that I was never exposed to, that were often at better prices and who do a great job. They're enthusiastic, and I feel they did really well. In terms of enabling events, I think I'm just going to say what's helped me in the past, and I think it's been mentioned quite a lot already today. It's a business. The reality is income and expenses. I get approached quite often with ideas that are wonderful, and then what I would normally do is sit with that person and go, okay, what's it going to cost? And what is your ability? What is the ceiling in terms of making money? Because I know how hard event organizers work. So you need to make a profit, and you need to minimize risk. So I would always do that. If you've got ideas, just go to the bottom line and go, obviously you can get partners on board, and it was very helpful, the previous discussion, but it needs to be viable. And with Dr. Evil, I'll give an example. Leon and I had our value was perhaps that we'd worked so hard for other people to make them money, and fortunately it felt good because a lot of them were charities, but we took 5,000 Rand each and we put it into our website, and we sold our entries for a year in advance, and then we knew we could do it because we had sold enough. So our expenses were covered. You know, we were clever about our budgeting. So
Cash flow.
cash flow, but we were also in a different time. I mean, I think there's now 750 cycle race events on the calendar. I started 15, 20 years ago, so I know that it's even more difficult now. The other thing is that something that I feel strongly about, and I've had first-hand experience working on big events, is safety, and that falls into the permissions process. I've had people have heart attacks, I've had death, paralysis, I've had it all, and that's why just to enable an event, I think that we cover a lot. There are certain things, public liability, following the Safety at Recreations and Sports Act. So, and then again, the municipal process is there for a reason. It's there to protect you, because we have been sued. I've been sued many times, and it's not fun, but they will go through your process. So, and actually to lead into this was passion. I love what I do. I'm so lucky, and I think that's important to anybody that wants to get into an event. I'm not a wedding planner. I don't have attention to detail. No, I mean, it's no disrespect. It's just that I'm a sporty person, and so for me, I get so excited about what I do. So I think that's important, and that will lead to that enabling, because there is a thing that I discovered, that at the moment in South Africa, it seems to be alcohol-related and sports events. As people struggle more, it seems to be those two things. And then in terms of your team, the people that you rely on, I think that's extremely important in order to have a successful event, especially if you've got an interesting personality, and I think there's quite a lot of strong personalities within the business. So for me, what I did, because Karita Coast and Dr. Evil's on the same weekend, and I like to control things, but I've had to learn to let go. And a production schedule, we work with that. We have a schedule where everybody has a responsibility and a role, and they are accountable for that. I think once you start trusting other people, as a manager of an event, you need to be organized, and you need to be clear as to what your expectations are. And then I think covering sponsors, we've covered that in the previous sort of panel discussion, but I think again, the big thing for me is that they are so valuable, and then you need to appreciate them.
Look after them.
Yeah, and also that not for just 1 year, next year that you want them back. I mean, I'm talking now of the guys that were in the mentorship program, and that comes back down to having an income and expense sheet at the end of your event that you can show, that you are accountable. And yeah, I think a part of the success is also just is aligning yourself with charity. It just feels good, and also it attracts sponsors and positivity. So that's,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Anything anyone wants to add?
Sorry, I don't want to always be the one.
No, it's good.
But I just want to ask you. Your first thing was you said you work with a charity, and
Yes.
it's amazing, and I can see your passion. But I find a lot of events give all the money they make to a charity, and then next year they're looking for every single rand in sponsorship again.
Zero-based
Yes.
budgets.
I think more and more people should look at what profit we have, give half to a charity, but keep some to keep your event sustainable. Because your sponsorships are getting harder and harder. Bev, you and I know that. We've been looking for how long? You know, we're trying to leverage every single dollar out there. But why give it all away? I'm absolutely for charities, but don't give it all to your
Yeah.
charity.
Maybe
Yeah.
but we don't. We have the business plan, and we work to that plan. And so next year, I've got a budget for marketing. I've got a budget for, you've got to have that. So it doesn't the profit I get paid by the charity. So, yeah. So I think it's
That's what I
important.
wanted to
It's an
hear.
important
Thank
point.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Edward?
I think the important thing that you mentioned is team. Now, people are looking at like a who at the municipality because we don't have events managers. Or we don't have departments that does it. So about 10 years ago, the municipality made a decision that said, look here, we went out on email and said, who is interested to over and above your normal work? Who is interested to help growing this town? And we've created a team. We started off with 10 people. We currently have, in all festivals, a team of over 30 municipal officials that does over and above their normal work, that runs these festivals. So that's a bit of a blueprint in terms of other municipalities actually just sit down and say, look here, it's optional. We've gone out and said, look here, this is optional. We want to grow our town, but team is important. Team leaders are important, but a leader is nothing without a team. And
Sandelia.
just adding on what you said is the success of all these events, all events organizers, don't be lone rangers in doing stuff just all on your own. Get other people involved, because at the end of the day, it's not just you growing your business, yes it is, but actually you just growing your town as well.
Absolutely.
I just also want
Yeah.
to add to that in terms of a charity contribution. Because I have a community development background, it's very important for me. But, charity donations should always be treated in a responsible way. It should be a case of give and take, not one-sided. Otherwise, it creates a situation of dependency. So I just wanted to add that to that, because I've
That's
seen
the
in the
flip
past,
side.
charities demand, they insist on getting that amount that they've received the previous year. So you have to work for what you're getting. So that, I think that's very important.
Money always makes it interesting. Okay, great. In terms of the, Joan, just for you, the event marketing, you've mentioned that before, developing an audience is just as important. Social capital and collaboration, we've sort of touched on but in terms of your experience, how important is it in terms of, and what support can we provide with regards to event marketing?
Well, I actually want to start with the social capital
Okay.
and the growing of your audience. What is an event really? It's a reflection of our culture. We're a sporting nation. We're an artistic nation. We're a musical nation. Whatever events we have, the food we grow, think of any event. What is it about? It's about our culture as South Africans. And I think sometimes we forget that. And we want to do this event for this audience out there, when really our audience is sitting here. The people in your community are your audience. And I really realized that when I moved to Oudtshoorn. I come from an Engelse family. I'm married to a New Zealander, so at home we speak English and rugby, and very little Afrikaans. And I moved to Oudtshoorn as their tourism manager. And the first car came, and I invited all my brothers and sisters. I said, come and experience this. You've never done it. So what if you don't understand a lot of Afrikaans? Every one of them loved it, and every one of them has been back. And that has made, in its own, one person has made an impact like that. Now, if every person in your community is making an impact, it's not only an opportunity for them to buy into your event, but it's an opportunity for them to provide a service, be it in food, in accommodation, in transport. All of a sudden, it's this team becomes your community. Everybody's making a bit of money out of it. Everybody's positive. Everybody's talking about it. That's word of mouth marketing. You can't beat that. It's not costing you 1 cent. So don't forget your immediate community. When you're asking people to be involved in an event, tell them what they can get out of it, not just what you want. How can it benefit you? Because very quickly, you'll have a team of volunteers that wants to make a difference. And to me, that's really what an event is about. An event is creating that cohesion within a town or a community. And that makes other people buy in. If it's an event in Pakkelsdorp, when enough people are talking about it, everybody in George is going to want to go and see what's going on there. You know, and that's how you grow. So that's where I think you start with your social cohesion. With it,
I like that.
every event is a culture. It's a reflection of our culture as South Africans. And then as far as marketing goes, there are so many, and I think sometimes we get stuck in the traditional marketing ways. I want to appeal to everyone also here today is to just use your social media. You know, you get so much bang for your buck. But share. If it's an event in George, tag George Tourism, or tag Wilderness Tourism, tag Western Cape,
Yes.
tag Linda, tag everybody. Because when you get to my age, you think, oh, do these tags really work? And sometimes you end up with 10 tags. But guys, growing your audience is bringing our youngsters up. And I tell you, you go to a high school now and watch kids leaving school. They're not watching for traffic. They're looking at their phones. Tourists are not necessarily walking into tourism information offices anymore. They are looking at their phones. So, yes, I'm not saying by any means dispel the traditional billboards. You know, every bit of marketing channel has its use and its place. But especially for new events, I'd like to say the first thing you need is a Facebook page, not a website.
Absolutely.
You know, because it gives everybody access. So marketing is becoming accessible to every single person in this room. You don't have to go to a marketing agency or a marketing guru. We are becoming our own marketers.
But just on terms of that, do you think that from a event incubation level, do you think that the startup events have the level of know-how in terms of social media marketing?
I was super impressed. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was super
No, it's
impressed. Yeah, because
Just an question.
I've got 1,500 friends on Facebook, but I think Oliver, Bubu, and Busco have got 4,000 each or 3,000 each. They're operating on
Yeah.
social media and talking to a lot of people. So
Sure, but I think there are channels, and I think it's something definitely that us as a municipality could, or as an incubation,
agree.
or as a give small. I mean, I could benefit from a social media course, and I'm on social media all the time. You know, it's hard to keep up. Everything changes so quickly.
Last year, Paul Hoffman can wave at me somewhere.
There he is.
There we go. Last year that we did, there was a course that was done in terms of how do you use your phone for marketing, and we invited a few. I think not a lot of people came, but it was invaluable in terms of how do you use your phone as to do your marketing as a business. It was like a 2-day course. It didn't cost anyone anything.
brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's so small things, and people often don't want to spend the day out of the office or whatever, but you almost have to reinvest that knowledge into your own business.
Definitely.
And I
Yeah.
almost say it's little things like that. That's where government can play a big role. In is in educating just those incubation people, and not just that. Like I said, technology
Anyone.
is changing so quickly that we all need to just brush up.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, don't think you can do it the same every year.
Yes.
I see that a lot. People are not reinventing or just refreshing their strategy. They want to almost repeat the recipe.
And also one that's difficult for us at the moment, and maybe Bernard will also, I think they're ahead of us in that, is that where do you spend your budget in terms of, do you spend it on television production, or do you people's attention spans seem to have really got very narrow, so social media is the way forward. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And they're saying 30 seconds for a video.
Crazy.
No
Use
more
those
than
little-
30
what
seconds
do they
for
call
your
it?
video
Those
clip.
small, those reels.
And who's watching DSTV anymore and who's watching Netflix? It seems to be there's a lot of change happening that you need to keep on top of in terms of marketing your event.
Absolutely.
So I would say that as far as marketing goes, staying abreast, you know, and like you say, things change. Every year is different.
Have a plan. Don't just think
Yes.
it'll happen.
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. Glenda, for you as well. So, again, the experience we had, and this is almost something which both of you can talk to as well. The last year with the Knysna Oyster Festival, we did the event incubator program. And in terms of this, just your general impression with regards to the experience and the role that it plays, and can it actually be scaled and started specifically for me is to say across the province, because we have to almost grow our own oak in terms of ensuring that that event capacity and event, as you said, we need to make sure that we're developing those businesses in our own backyards as well. Just your general experience in terms of that.
I just want to give a little bit of background
Context,
on
yeah.
the case study that we started off with, which is the Knysna Oyster Festival. As most of you know, it is one of the biggest lifestyle and sports festivals in the Western Cape. And it is, I think, 37 years old this year. And it boosts the Knysna economy, and not only the Knysna economy, but also the adjacent towns of Plettenberg Bay and Sedgefield, because people usually find cheaper accommodation in the neighboring towns during that period. But we've noticed something, you know, the event organizers and the event managers and directors, they've noticed something, that it's not an inclusive festival at all. And a festival can only be meaningful if everybody in a community is incorporated or included in some way, and in an empowering position, not just regular workers. And that was how this incubator program was born. And the objectives was to capacitate the participants to be able to run their own events, not only in conjunction with the Oyster Festival, but also other mainstream events like the Hill Climb and the Pink Luri Festival, and also do independent, like small events like, the wedding do, those kind of things back home. But yeah, to capacitate people to do that, so that they don't stand and, there's a continuous begging for money or for sponsorship and unpleasantness like that. And that is how it started. And what we also envisioned with the program was that, the skills that is transferred through the mentoring program and through the training, that they actually transfer the skills to the people who work for them during that period
Absolutely.
of the event. And so that we can actually look and be proud of what they achieved one day, and themselves as well. I'm very proud of those three. I must add before I forget, like one of the incubatees is actually a finalist in the program that we have today.
No pressure.
Oliver and Kotsat. So I'm very proud of him. And, we started with wide advertising in the Greater Knysna area, and 11 applications were received. Of those, 5 were selected, and 3 of those events chose to have and host the event during the Oyster Festival. And I also must add, the honors should go to Knysna municipality. Because if it wasn't for their financial and moral support, it would not have seen the light. And, I speak not only in terms of like established event manager, but also from the position of emerging event manager. To have that kind of support is invaluable. And I think all those 3 guys share the same sentiment. So, and we've learned a lot of lessons along the way. First of all, to get legalities in order, with the PDP and MOUs and
paperwork.
all those acronyms,
Yes.
to get that sorted. Because there should be a trust relationship between, within a public, because that's what it is. It's a public-private partnership. And if you can't trust each other, you cannot go and do business with each other. And that is important in relationships as well as in professional relationships. And the value of social media, once again, you know, as you say, these guys are jacked up with social media. And I was very impressed with that. And, you know, and the importance of, you know, how important branding is. It immediately gave an air of professionality to the events. And like Bulelani's event was attended by 900 people. And you know, last night I was looking, I thought I had to do a presentation, so I was stalking their pages. I'm thinking, yes, this guy has so much experience in terms of organizing events. They come with experience already, but this program actually tweak the energy in the right direction. So that's from my side.
Sandy,
I think just short. I think the reality is people need jobs. You know, it's but the challenges. I think there needs to be contracts in place. Everything there needs to be a clear timeline. I think expectations need to be managed, and then I think the point is for next year you can forge ahead. You can use sustainable. You know, I do believe there's. And also, I think there's a lot of people in the room who can give back because you have the knowledge, and I was very pleasantly surprised at the enthusiasm, at the structures in place that just needed the tweaking.
But it's the question of if you, because it takes time.
Takes time.
And we saw it we wanted to use the Oyster Festival as a platform, but if you think about all the big events, if you think about if the ones that I know, if the Car and the Pink Lurie and the Samola Eel Climb all just got one company or one person to mentor.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like real mentorship because it takes time. And what for me the value was what you added to them was you actually sat down, you had experience with budgets, you had experience with sponsorship proposals. And so it's the having an access to somebody that could actually help you through, this hasn't worked, what do I do? So, and it's the request is that the greater environment actually has that heart, not just to give to charity, but to actually allow somebody into your house to have that sharing of knowledge.
And I think the most important thing for me was to know that it's not the same house that you used to, that I must learn as well, because it's a completely
very
different socioeconomic environment,
Mm.
and that was very valuable to me. I came away humbled.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think something I've also picked up now, and I love that idea that you added events onto the Oyster Festival.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously those are then marketed under the umbrella. So that's another thing. Don't think you have to have your own event with its own marketing budget. See how you can hook up with other events to leverage their budgets to benefit your festival.
Absolutely. So in terms of that, we've got 5 minutes left and we're going to ask Q&A. What do you think is the value in terms of where should we be focusing on provincially in terms of building capacity provincially in terms of events? From a government perspective or an event space? If we say for the next 5 years, what should we be investing in?
Knowledge, opportunities, the mentorship programs, and
And what I also want to add, you know, like a creative space. Because sometimes to many of people, life is a rat race, and there is not a creative space where they can think and share ideas. So maybe a kind of a creative space,
lovely,
specifically for events.
Where people just network and
Yeah.
bounce
like
ideas.
we are hopefully doing today.
Yeah.
And then I would also say with that, to have this wonderful idea space, to just also have a little bit of reality for financial planning and
Yeah.
budgeting and
The
being
events
realistic.
based.
You know, I get a lot of event proposals on my desk and I'm like, dudes, have you thought about this? How are you going to make your money back? You know, and just for people to be more realistic in their planning. Because yes, it's wonderful to think you're going to have 20 artists, but it's going to cost R1 million.
Exactly.
Where you're going to get it, and
remember.
how you're going to make your money
Know
back.
that.
And a lot of people say, but we'll sell tickets. Then I say, how many
How?
tickets do you have to sell at how many rands? Just to
Oh,
break even.
where are
And
my
you haven't marketed, you haven't done anything. So just a bit of a reality check with that creative space.
Yeah.
Now, Ilse, from our side, what we've done now with the Dice Festival,
Yeah.
we started out small and we only used national artists. So we started training and equipping. So we, in conjunction with the Dice Festival, we're running a program, Mossberg's Got Talent, in the year. So we're creating all this talent.
Okay.
We're getting our partners in, And now all of a sudden I can cut on my national artist
Because you've grown your own oak.
because we've grown our own talent, and our talent, apart from growing the talent, our talent is actually becoming better than the national artists are. Then people actually want to come and see the local talent more than want to come and see the national talent.
And that grows your audience.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So there's different things we can do in terms of that. So check this for timing. 11 minutes 48. There's a timer going off here. So we are done. Anything else anybody wants to add?
Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm going to allow 10 minutes for Q&A from the audience. Okay. There's so many hands going up. Gentleman in the red first. And then we'll move along. I'm going to stand up because I can't see beyond the
Thank you.
spotlight.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much for quite an interesting feedback that we got. I'm just worried about the fact that organized sport is not part of that panel. As organized sport, as many of them that sit up there said they're sport festivals. They talk about sport festivals, but sport is not there. Organized sport, which I'm talking about. Because I think organized sport contributes to event organizing, although it is in a smaller sense. Eden Sport Council consists of 51 district sport federations. So if each one of them just hosts one event per year, we're talking about 50 already. That's enormous if you are taking that in consideration. So what we feel from organized sports side is that they have to be taken into consideration. I think that sport tourism in our area has increased to such an extent that sport cannot be just sidelined. The second one is that the sport festivals, all of them stage sport, different sport codes, but there's very little coordination with the specific sport federation. If they can bring the sport federation on board in their sport festivals, then I think the marketing platform will be much wider as well. Because in many cases there are sport festivals with sport codes and the federation does not even know about it, which is not a good idea. Then of course, many of the sport events that are hosted in sport festivals are not always sanctioned. And we know what this organized sport is all about. If you host a major event, like one of the big cycle races or whatever, you need to be sanctioned from the national body in order to protect the competitors. There's a lot of these legalities that is also going with it. Then, of course, closer cooperation and partnership with organized sport will surely enhance the whole project of getting more sport tourism, etc. I'm just quickly, the last, the one is also all of us know, the major event companies know that the Sport Safety Act costs a lot of money just to put on the table. And many of the sport codes does not really have that financial backup to do it. We thank DCAS that has done a tremendous job in filling that gap. Without the funding that we get from DCAS and of course from the Western Cape government, I would say at least 70% of the smaller sport codes cannot exist.
Thank
And then lastly, we hear about charity. Can't sport federations also be added to that list? I mean, they are all charity cases, as far as I know. And that will help because many of these events are a once-off in a year. There's only one oyster festival in a year. There's only one Mossel Bay Sport Festival. There's only one Oudtshoorn Sport Festival per year. But the rest of the year, that federations still have to do the development, the transformation, to all that athletes that is eventually taking part and making the festivals a success. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What was the
Okay,
question?
next question. Yes.
Good one.
I'm going to take a few questions and then we'll respond. Okay.
Hi, I'm Patrick Walton. I'm director of the Neisner Film Festival, which will be the first festival, as you said, Punt New Things, 29th of October to 2nd of November this year. Okay. I need to raise something on seasonal evaluation. I've applied for a number of funding projects because I have 5 other companies that I run that also require funding. And more recently, my question is basically, is government out of touch with what is seasonal for a particular region? In very much broad strokes, the offer of 50,000 Rand as funding, which I think pays for toilets and security maybe, is presented to try and kickstart an international event or a local event, which is a bit embarrassing to go to sponsors and say, well, I'm already backed by this person and this is how much they're giving me. If you look at an event, I'm going to use Neisner as a good example. They have a dormant period, October to November, which means that tourism occupancy is very high, but the funders are not looking at the matrix. What's the audience development plan of the event? What's the matrix? Are you trying to extend the socio-economic platform for that time of year from an average of 2 to 3 bed nights, which means it's a transient economy, to 4 to 5 bed nights? None of this is looked at by provincial or national. And I say national because on a filming side, because I do film, we have the same issues. They fund money to sponsor parties, opening and closing parties. I don't need money for that. That's where, as I think the lady from ABSA mentioned earlier, I go to a sponsor and I do a barter value deal, and they'll gladly do that because that gives them exposure to the audience attending your event. So that's something I think the panel should talk about. Looking at the current event calendar for that time of year, that's what might make it non-seasonal because it's dormant. Tourists have got nothing to do because there are no events on at that particular time. And what this basically leads to is, if you look at the event strategy evolution that we as event organizers need to do annually, it doesn't help that we do that, but the people who we're approaching for funding are not keeping up with the times either. So they have a very set criteria of what they fund and how they're going to fund, but you have a fantastic new innovative idea from traveling to markets and events all around the world, which you want to initiate, but you can't get funding on the basis that it doesn't suit the old criteria.
Thank you very much. Good.
It's also very
Come on.
important. It is true.
We'll take one more question, then we can respond. Yes? Oh, there's
Who's
2.
go?
Who's first?
Hello, my name is Bulelani. I'm not going to actually ask a question. I'm just going to suggest something that would work for us in our municipalities. I feel as an event organizer, our municipalities must start using us more. Because for one reason, what I've noticed is our municipalities have their own calendars in a year, which is where they host their own events. But the attendance of those events don't have that much impact when they do things on their own compared to us that are there on the local grounds, that are there in the communities. You tend to see that their attendance are more of like the same people that are attending the same event for 3 years. Because the reason why I'm saying that is I feel if us local event organizers are being involved in those events that the municipality hosts. I think it would have more impact because I myself, I can say I'm using my social media a lot, and I can post a poster of an event for Saturday today on Facebook. Just post the poster and tag some of the guys. I have I think close to 5,000 people that are following me on Facebook. I know Oliver
Influencer.
has almost the same numbers. I know Simzi there is staying in Oturang. He has mostly the same people. So I can say with me posting a poster and tagging 2 people, I know I've reached close to 15,000 already. So if the municipality would change how they do things and involve us as local event organizers in their programs, we're not saying that, okay, involve us because of we want to be paid or we want money out of it, but we want to move our towns more and make small events that municipalities organize, make them bigger and create a bigger impact in that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got a minute left. Can we take another question or can we respond? Because I've got okay. Unless it's like a 10-second question, because we've got we are also available during lunch.
Yes.
Yes, you may. If you've got 10 seconds, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Annelien Hartnick. I'm from Heidelberg, and I'm involved in the Proebietjie Kunstefees in Heidelberg. The question I'm asking, or maybe not really a question, I think it's a fact, that big brands are not interested in small little festivals in our very small towns. I don't know, maybe it is a fact. I spoke to a few people I know from Zawar. They're doing an Erfenisfeest there, we're doing and it's just, this thing, they're not interested. So the only people or the only businesses that really supports us is our local municipality. It's DCAS, but none other. Even our businesses in our towns are so small they can't really support us because they don't have they support sports, yes, but not the arts per se.
Okay.
So this is the one fact I want to state. The other one is there a best practice model on how to do or how to organize a festival? Just best practice. And if there is there a possibility that either the province or local municipalities can organize such workshops locally so that everybody can buy into that and learn how it really works to make a success of a festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're just going to respond quickly. I'm going to ask the panel, time's up. Okay, we have to respond to a few things. Zandile, if you could just cover the topics in terms of all the organized sport contributions,
Sure.
the Safety Act.
Very, yeah. I think that Eden cycling, I think there's an old history between us because, which I don't think this is the right platform for, but we are not affiliated with Cycling South Africa. We have the right not to be affiliated. There are reasons, but we still follow the law. We still have our public liability. We're sanctioned by the municipalities. I think I'm open to conversation. I think it's important for events to make their own decisions. But that's an old
But I think
divorce,
the sport events are definitely, it's not like it's actually excluded from the panel. We just fit so
This-
many
it's
people
a
on a
personal
couch.
thing. This is a personal
And
thing.
in
yeah.
fact, to the contrary, we really, really want to work with our sports clubs. So if you
Yeah.
could help me with that,
There
I'd
we go,
really
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of the seasonality, in terms of funding, anyone want to add to that?
If I can just say, you know, we all know we've all established funding is tight. People haven't got, municipalities should definitely have their public service or delivery is their first and foremost. And I think sponsorship of events, yes, as an economic stimulation, but not
It's tiny
really,
budgets.
it's very tight. So I think just get creative. And I'm not talking about necessarily millions, but if I can use an example, the Strawberry Festival in George wanted 100,000 Rand to become for a naming sponsor. And George really wanted to do it, but we really didn't have 100,000 Rand. So I said to them, let us help you apply to Westgrow for 50,000. If we can get you that 50,000, we'll do the other 50,000. And so we did that, and we became the naming sponsor. So just get creative in your thinking, and like I said, see if you can match up with other events.
It's just difficult in terms of the funding because every municipality's got their own budget process. They've got a different council making decisions, and we don't. Not every municipality has, and I think even with Westgrow, they've got a small budget. I think it's like
That's
2 million
a
rand,
lot.
which has to cover applications for the province, which is not a lot. So I understand and I hear, Patrick, what you're saying in terms of that, but the response to that is someone's either going to get more and someone's not going to get anything because the budgets aren't going to just double. So it's about where do we find that money, and is it a priority to actually increase the budgets? It's a difficult conversation. It's a hairy conversation.
Caliber to
Oh,
rather look at a
okay.
national body.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've run out of time to respond, but we've taken note of all the questions. You are more than welcome to engage with us afterwards, and I hope you enjoyed our panel discussion. And to my 4 panelists, I think you were exceptional, and thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Yes, how are you?
Would like to say thank you to Ms. Ilse van Skalkwijk and panel. Another round of applause, please, ladies and gents.